भागवतमौनिवर शशिविभाकर सनक सनन्दन जिगीष सुर किं पुरुषु कनक कशिपु सुत नारद तुम्बुरु परम भागवतमौनिवर शशिविभाकर सनक सनन्दन जिगीष सुर किं पुरुष कनक कशिपु सुत नारद तुम्बुरु पवन सूनु भालचन्द्रधर शुक सरोज भम भूसुरवरुलु परम पावनुलु गनुलु शाश्वतुलु कमल भव सुखमु सदानुभवुलु गायन्तरो महानुभावुलु अन्तर्नी कीवल्दनमूलु यन्तरो
Parama Bhagavatulu. Bhagavata is a very beautiful term that explores the idea of someone who is lost in Bhagavanta. And the beauty of Sanatana Dharma is that it pays homage to so many such people. Parashara, Vyasa, Narada, Tumburu, Anjaneya Swami, and a host of others. Today, our humble attempt is to focus and pay homage to one such Bhagavata, whose role is so important in Sanatana Dharma and Itihasa Purana that if you take away this character, we will have very little left. His role is often showcased in mainstream media as somebody who has an antenna here, maybe for gossip accumulation, by which he quickly transmits, and he's always present at the climatic space at the right time, and he's turning the course of stories. And this is what we've reduced Narada Muni to. Now, while there may be a certain element of jest that has its role to play in such retellings, the role of the Muni is much greater than this. And that is where you see composers, Vagyakaras, and Itihasas, Puranas glorifying the role of this Muni so beautifully. And there are various aspects to the idea of Narada Swami. So today, we thought we'll begin with the familiar and move into the unfamiliar, looking into some aspects of how, when we consider Narada to be a mischief maker, in that mischief is hidden something very, very beautiful. And the very first instance that comes to my mind is a well-known story, and it's also fitting to begin with this because it's summer. So instead of talking about Narada, let's talk about a fruit. Let's talk about a mango that was brought into Kailasa and wreaked havoc into another otherwise happy family. Because when Narada came with this fruit, he tells Paramashiva that I will give it to your son. Which of your sons is going to receive it? There is only one fruit, and there is no buy two concept. That is only in Bangalore. So, in this confusion, Paramashiva gave us a beautiful idea. He says, whoever goes around the entire universe first. Now, why I'm telling this story is because this is one of the most beautiful stories that talks about how to look at the universe. We often tell this story, we all know what happens. Ganapati just does a pradakshanam around his parents thrice, and Kartikeya goes around the entire world thrice, and Kartikeya loses. So what do we conclude from this? That Ganapati is the smart one, Kartikeya is better off in the gym. But this approach is very, very narrow. The beauty is, Kartikeya goes around the world, and in the whole world, he sees his parents. Ganapati sees the entire world in his parents. That is all the difference is. It's just two ways of looking at the same thing. But in the Leela, after this is Tattvam. But when it comes to the Leela, when Ganapati concludes his pradakshanam, Shiva gives him the mango. And Subramanya, in the Leela, he sulks and he comes away to Dakshina Bharatam. So he leaves Kailasa Parvatam and he comes down to Dakshina Parvatam. When he comes to Dakshina Bharatam, Parvati and Shiva are unable to be happy anymore because their son has left home. So in that moment, they also come after him. They find him sitting on a hillock. And at that point, Shiva asks him. He starts to plead with him. He cajoles him, saying, Muruga, come back, no? Muruga says, no. Come back. Va, he says.
Ka va va, kanda va va, yennai ka va. Velava Muruga va va Kanda va va Yanni kava velava.
Velava, oh one who is holding a Velayudham, come back to your home. Subramanya sulks further and he says, how can I come? Why should I come? You didn't want to give me the fruit. Shiva smiles and he says, Muruga, this is a Leela. And as a part of that Leela, you played your role. But come back home, no? Subramanya is relentless. He says, how can I come back? The fruit that Narada Muni got, you gave that to Ganapati. Don't I deserve that phalam? Shiva looks at his son, and this Swarupam is a Jnana Swarupam, and he says, what fruit are you talking about, Muruga? You yourself are the phalam. Phalam niye appa, which becomes Palani, which is exactly where he is, and that is why he is on top of Palani hill, because of Narada Muni.
Kava velava Palani malayudayu Murugava Kandava yenai Kava velava Va Palani malayudayu Murugava Kandava yenai Kava velava Va Palani malayudayu Padapama padapama gari sani kava Padani dani sari sari ni sadani sani dapama gari sani kava Sari sani sari sani sari sani gari sani ri sani da padani sa Sani gari sani sa gari sari ni sa dani padama pagama padani ri sa Gari sani ri sani da pama padani sa Sani sa dani padama padani ri sa Sani gari sa ni sari sani dani sani da Dani da dani sani da ni sari sani sa gari sari ri sani sari dan sari sani sari sani ga ri sani ni ga ma ga ri sani sa pa ma ga ri sani sa gari sari ni sa dani ba da ma pa ma ni da pa ga ga ma ma da dani ni ga ri sani dani ga ri sa ri sani sani da gari sani da ri sani da pa ma ga ma pa da pa dani ga ma pa da pa ma pa dani da pa dani sani gari sani sani da gari sani da ri sani da pa sani da pa ma ka va kanta va yeni ka va velava
The word Palani finds its origins in precisely this conversation between Paramashiva and his son. And not just this kshetram, another kshetram also comes about because of the supposed mischief that Narada Muni creates. Because when Subramanya decides to settle down in Palani, Parvati says, how can I be far away from my son? So she says, my son is sitting on a hillock. I also want to sit on a hillock. And if she commands, then even he has to listen. So Shiva follows her. And they both choose a mountain not so far away. That is the mountain of Sri Shailam. So if we have two kshetrams today, they are entirely because of Narada Muni. This is the approach that we look at him with. The idea that a guru, when he has a sankalpam, it plays out in a very, very beautiful way. And sometimes Narada has indirect ways of showcasing this, as he did with Ganapati and Skanda, looking at the world in two very different ways. Sometimes it also comes out in very, very direct ways. It is a well-known example about how Narada gives Kayadhu. Kayadhu is the wife of Hiranyakashipu. How she gives her an upadesha. Narada talks to her when she is carrying Prahlada. And Prahlada in the womb absorbs all of this. Narada also, in another context, when a 5-year-old boy is leaving his home because his father would not seat the boy on his lap, that boy was dejectedly walking towards the forest, And at that point, Narada appeared to him also. And he said, let me tell you a way in which you will attain a realm beyond all of this. Both these examples, one of Prahlada, one of Dhruva, talk about the importance of how Narada came directly and gave Upadesham to those who were seeking. And in both these cases, you will see the idea of Narada's bhakti that gets accentuated by Prahlada and by Dhruva. Look at the case of how he gives Prahlada that Upadesham. For Prahlada, Vishnu is not Shankha Chakra Gada Padmadhari. For Prahlada, Vishnu is a feeling. And that feeling is so strong because that is the Upadesham that Narada gives when the boy is inside the womb. That he talks about Vishnu as the strength of the universe, the collective strength of the universe that is present in every atom. And Prahlada imbibes this idea. So in a climatic moment, when Hiranyakashipu asks his son, who is this Vishnu that you speak of? Prahlada gives a response. He says, the one who is the strength for the strong and the one who is a strength for the weak. For you, for me, and for all the Brahmandas, for every living and inanimate being, he is the strength that is called Vishnu. Balayutulaku durbalulaku balamevvadu, neeku naaku brahmadulakun, balamevvadu pranulakotiku. The one who is the balam for the entire pranakoti, to that balam, I refer to him as Vishnu. That confidence comes why? It comes because of a guru's upadesham. For Dhruva, the context is so different. When Narada meets this 5-year-old innocent boy, he describes Vishnu. He gives him the Swarupam. And he says, he has Sunasam. He has such a shapely nose. Subhruvam. His eyebrows are charming. Charu Kapolam. He has beautiful cheeks. And he has a Mandasmitam. Shrivatsankam Ghanashyamam Purusham Vanamalinam. The entire Swarupam of Sriman Narayana from head to toe he describes. And when Dhruva sees the Lord, he says, I am tongue-tied because the Swarupam that my Guru described to me, I am able to see it. Both these bhaktas had Sakshatkara of Bhagavan because of one Narada Muni. And this idea, composers fell in love with. That is why now we present to you a small aspect where two composers, separated by time and space, are saying the same thing. They are saying, one says that Narada took this Narayana mantram and he passed it on. When it reached Prahlada, it became a Narasimha mantram. When it reached Dhruva, it became a Vasudeva mantram. Another composer took a creative liberty on this idea and said something else. But let's see what the first composer, the first Vagyakara, is saying to us.
నారదుడు జపించే నారాయణ మంత్రము నారదుడు జపించే నారాయణ మంత్రము నారదుడు జపించే నారాయణ మంత్రము చేరే ప్రహ్లాదుడు నరసింహ మంత్రము చేరే ప్రహ్లాదుడు నరసింహ మంత్రము కోరి విభీషణుడు చేకోన రామ మంత్రము కోరి విభీషణుడు చేకోన రామ మంత్రము వేరే నాకు గలిగే వెంకటేశ మంత్రము వేరే నాకు గలిగే వెంకటేశ మంత్రము హరినారాయణ 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 ఎను మనవే హరినారాయణ 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 ఎను మనవే ನಾರಾಯಣನೆಂಬ ನಾಮದ ಬೀಜವ ನಾರಾಯಣ ನಾಮದ ಬೀಜವ ನಾರದ ಬೀಟಿದ ಧರೆಯೊಳಗೆ ನಾರದ ಬೀಟಿದ ಧರೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ.
Narada Bidita Dharayolage. Narada took that Nama Bijam of Narayana and he scattered that Bijam on this earth. And when he did that, what happened? It germinated. That seed of Narayana germinated in Prahlada. That seed sprouted in Dhruva. And then it continues to grow all the way until that seed becomes a tree that ultimately gives you the fruit of moksham. This is what Purandaradasa said.
ತರಳ ಧ್ರುವನಿಂದ ಅಂಕುರಿಸಿತುವುದು ತರಳ ಧ್ರುವನಿಂದ ಅಂಕುರಿಸಿತುವುದು ವರ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದನಿಂದ ಮೊಳಕಯಿಟ್ಟು ವರ ಪ್ರಹ್ಲಾದನಿಂದ ಮೊಳಕಯಿಟ್ಟು ಧರಣೀಶ ರುಕ್ಮಾಂಗದ ರುಕ್ಮಾಂಗದ ನಿಂದ ಚಿಗುರೀತು ಧರಣೀಶ ರುಕ್ಮಾಂಗದ ನಿಂದ ಚಿಗುರೀತು ಗುರು ಪಿತಾಮಹನಿಂದ ಹೂವಯಿತು ಗುರು ಪಿತಾಮಹನಿಂದ ಹೂವಯಿತು ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ 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 ಎನು ಮನವೇ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ ಎನು ಮನವೇ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ ಎನು ಮನವೇ.
The whole context of Narada is very, very interesting when you look at it from the idea that he is not about Vishnu Bhakti alone. For him, Vishnu, Shiva, Shakti, these are all manifestations of one primordial power. That is why he is not just the guru for in various Vishnu Sampradayas, but even when it comes to Shiva, Narada plays such a beautiful and such an important role in one very, very critical story that connects us to Shiva. And not just Shiva, but to Shiva's Ardhangini, to Shakti. When Shakti manifests as Parvati to the daughter, as the daughter of Himavan and Mena, at that time she is growing up in the palace of Aushadhi Prastham in the Himalayas. At that point, when this little girl is also 5 years of age, just like a little Dhruva, here this is Bala Tripura Sundari herself. But Bala Tripura Sundari, when she is growing up, Narada has this desire because he wants to come and have darshanam of Jagannatha. But Narada has this phenomenal, this great habit. Whenever he comes, he never does anything directly. He'll ensure that he does it in such a unique way that either somebody will have hair fall, somebody will have sleepless nights, and through this, he will leave a phenomenal lesson. So when he arrives in the palace of Aushadhi Prastham, Himavan is thrilled because Narada is a Mahamuni. So he wants the blessings of this Mahamuni on his daughter. Keep aside that she is Jagannatha. For a parent, a child is always a child. So he calls his little girl and he says, come and do a namaskaram to her, to Narada Muni. So this little girl comes. She looks at Narada and she smiles. She does a namaskaram. Internally, Narada returns the namaskaram. Only externally, he says, may you be well. Internally, he is doing a namaskaram. Now, Himavan, like any parent, has this other habit. The entire universe of a parent revolves not around the sun, but around their child. And in this case, his child is Jagannatha. So it's even more fortunate for him. But he wants this one deep thing for his child. He wants to know that his child's future will be secure. I'm not referring to an insurance policy that he has to get. He wants to know that she will be happy. So, when a Mahamuni has come, who is Sarvashastra Pravartakaha, who knows all the Shastras, the first thing he asks is, will my child's future be well? So Narada says, how will I know? You show me her hand. No, I'll see then. So, Parvati, little Bala, is asked to stretch out her hand. And when she stretches out her hand, Narada looks at that hand and he says, this is the hand that is keeping all of the three worlds in motion And now I have the bhagyam of looking at the fortune of this hand, but let me make the most of that bhagyam. That humble sentiment and that beautifully playful sentiment both come out. So he looks at this hand and he says, Sulakshanani sarvani. There are only sulakshanams, there are good signs, auspicious signs on this hand. Eka laksham, there is one lakshana, visheshataha, which is very special. This is human psychology. You say 99 things are great and one is different. No one wants to know about the 99 things. Himan says, what is different? Vilakshana, he says, he uses the words vilakshana. Vilakshana is, it is special, not it is bad. He says, there's one line on her hand which is quite distinct. So Himan says, what does this line say? He says, you won't like it, leave it. No, you have to tell me. Okay, because you're insisting, I'm telling you, pa. Actually, ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, this one hand is saying about her marriage. Himavan's entire antennas went up. She's only 5. But he still wants to know. So he says, what about her marriage? And then Narada says, according to this, she will marry somebody who does not have a home. Himavan is taken aback. It also says, Narada has got the moment. So he says, okay. Also, it says that she will marry somebody who does not have parents. So this girl will go to a home where it is only her husband and her. Also, I think she's going to be the mother of an elephant. At this point, Himavan is beside himself with despair, saying, what bhagyam is this? She's going to marry somebody who doesn't have a home, somebody who doesn't have parents, somebody who is going to be the mother of an elephant. Shiva Tattvam is hidden in here. That is the basic idea. He has no parents because he is the father of the universe. What parents will he have? He has no home, no permanent home, because he is himself moving in every Atma across the entire universe. And need I talk about the elephant that is going to come? So at this point, Narada comes, and after he sees Himavan's despair, he says, Himavan, match the following. All of these belong to one person and one person alone. Your daughter is going to be wedded to Paramashiva. Saying this, he leaves, and Himavan is internally satisfied. Now fast forward later into the story, much later, when Kama has been burnt to ashes by Shiva, at this point, Parvati is in despair. Because Parvati comes to her father and she says, up till now, at least I could go and I could serve him. I could go and clean the precincts where he was. I could have darshana bhagyam. I could at least see him. Now where is the question of seeing him? I mean, he's gone. He's disappeared from here. At this point, again, Narada Muni comes, and here his approach is very, very different. He says, Amma, Parvatama, you want to attain Shiva? Now, I will give you that rahasyam, which is the most powerful and most well-guarded secret of the Vedam. Chant that rahasyam. I'm giving you a ratnam. I'm giving you a mantra rahasyam. Take this mantra rahasyam and chant it, and you will find Shiva. And Narada describes to her how beautiful this rahasyam is. He says, whenever we have a gem, we keep it very carefully with us. That is stored inside a small little locker, which is inside a Godrej, which is inside a room to which we have the key. If you take the Veda Rashi, the mantra Rashi of all the Vedas, if the Vedas themselves are various rooms, within that, the heart of the Vedam is the Yajur Vedam. Inside the Yajur Vedam, another safe space, which is guarded well, is the Rudram, the Sri Rudram. Inside the Sri Rudram, the heart of the Sri Rudram is the Ashtama Anuvakam, the 8th part of the Rudram. In that 8th part of the Rudram, you're unpeeling layer by layer. In that 8th part of the Rudram, Namah Shambhavecha, Mayobhavecha, Namah Shankarayacha, Mayaskarayacha, Namah Shivayacha, Shivatarayacha. Namah Shivaya is that Panchakshari mantram which Vedamata herself has kept so well guarded. I am giving you this mantram, take this and you will attain Shiva. This is Narada's Upadesham to Parvati. Parvati does this mantram and then she becomes a mantra siddha in this mantram, and then Paramashiva comes and marries her. All this Upadesham given by Narada Muni. This idea of the Panchakshari, he goes into great detail and explains to her. And he says, this Panchakshari, Namah Shivaya, from these 5 came the Pancha Mahabhutas. From the Pancha Mahabhutas came the Pancha Tanmatras. From the Pancha Tanmatras came the Pancha Karmendriyas. From the Pancha Karmendriyas came the Pancha Jnanendriyas. All of this universe is filled with these multiples of 5. Pancha, 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 Pancha. That's why Parvati, this universe is called as Prapancha, because all of it is Shivamayam. This aspect he reveals to her so beautifully as an ode to that Panchakshari Mahamantram. We present to you the eternal Panchakshari Stotram, which, as several of you would know, Nagendra Haraya is the first one, Mandakini Salila Chandana is the second one. You take the first syllables of each one and you have the Panchakshari Mantram, that Upadesham that Narada gave to Parvati. Today we have the bhagyam of receiving that.
Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Mandakini Salila Chandana Charchitaya Nandishvara Pramatanatha Maheshwaraya Mandara Mukya Bahupushpa Supujitaya Tasmai Makaraya Namah Shivaya Shivaya Vadanabjabhrida Suryaya Dakshadvaranashakaya Srinilakantaya Vrishadvajaya Tasmai Shikaraya Namah Shivaya Vasishta Kumbod Bhavagautamaya Munindra Devarchita Shekaraya Chandrarka Vaishvanaralochanaya Tasmaiva Karaya Namah Shivaya Yaksha Swarupaya Jatadharaya Pinakahastaya Sanatanaya Yaksha Swarupaya Jatadharaya Pinakahastaya Sanatanaya Divyaya Devaya Digambaraya Tasmai Yakaraya Namah Shivaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya.
Now, we're at that beautiful juncture where Puranas record stories like this, Dhruva, Prahlada, Parvati. So, it's a well-known fact that Narada appears to a bhakta and guides them onto a path. So this idea captures the fancy and fascination of many a Vagyakara. So historically what we see now is that many Vagyakaras also yearn for the blessing of Narada because they understand that Narada can lead them to Narayana. Call him Narayana, call him Shiva, the idea is the same. One such bhakta, in his yearning for Rama, this bhakta by this time was introduced to a host of saints who blessed him. But this bhakta had one keen desire, that Narada should bless him. There's a specific reason he wants Narada's blessing. There is a certain Swami called Ramakrishnananda Swami who initiates this bhakta into worshipping Narada. He gives him a Narada mantram. This bhakta, we had the bhagyam of speaking about just about a year ago for 2 hours, none other than Sadguru Tyagaraja Swami. Tyagaraja Swami was so drawn to the idea of Rama, but Narada became a beautiful conduit for him. So he began to imagine the idea of Narada coming and blessing him. There is something specific that he wanted in that blessing, and we will come to that. But Narada has his ways, Narayana has his ways. So one fine day, when Tyagaraja Swami returns from his Unchavritti, that is when he returns from the practice of collecting alms for that day after doing Harinama Sankirtanam, he comes back home and his students take whatever alms have been received for that day. They go and they take it and give it to his wife. He is meanwhile busying himself with all of his work, his japam, he's just getting ready for, and he's constantly in that state of connectivity, so he's connected to the divine in that sense. When he's sitting like this, he senses somebody is walking outside. Triloka Sanchari only is walking outside. But he comes in a Muni Vesham, in a Dasa Vesham, Haridasa Vesham. So Tyagaraja Swami has another thing. Part of his practice, his cultural practices, if he sees anybody at all, especially somebody who is a Bhagavata, he wants him home so that they can do Bhagavat Sambhashanam. They can speak about Bhagavan. This is Satsangam. So he immediately calls this man. This man says, I'll come, but I don't stay anywhere for too long. Tyagaraja Swami says, no problem, just come and grace my house with your Padapadmas. So this Muni comes. And when he comes, this Muni starts to speak to Tyagaraja Swami about Rama Tattvam. Tyagaraja Swami is fascinated and intrigued because the Muni is not speaking to him about something far away. He is speaking to Tyagaraja Swami about how much Upasana Tyagaraja Swami has done. Tyagaraja Swami closes his eyes, starting to think, how does this person know what all I have done up till now? And how is he understanding my personal equation with Rama? He closes his eyes and he does a namaskara. When he closes his eyes and he does a namaskaram, he sees a certain form emerge. That form looks like it has the glowing moon of Sharad Kalam, Sharadindu. And that Sharadindu is glowing so brightly that Tyagaraja Swami is struggling to see the rest of the form. And he looks at that form and he says, this form alone is enough to take away the sins of every person who meditates on this form. And he says, this form feels to me as if the Guru of Trilokas himself has come to my home. In that moment of ecstasy, Tyagaraja Swami, that form now starts to speak. And that speaking is only one word that the form is saying. All this in Tyagaraja's eyes are closed. The form is sitting in front of him. That form he has forgotten. This is all happening internally. He closes his eyes and that form is saying only one word. What is that word? Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. At that point, Tyagaraja Swami realizes he is meditating upon somebody who is meditating upon Narayana. In that moment, he is wondering, is this by any chance, is the person who is in front of me Narada himself? And he opened his eyes, not even cognizant of what is happening in front of him, tears rolling from his eyes. This composition came in that moment. Such an ecstatic composition that shows his thrill of what is happening. The blessed Narada, who is lost in Narayana Smaranam, is here in front of me.
ವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವ ಮುಗಲ ವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವ ಮುಗಲ ವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವಮು ಕಲವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವಮು ಕಲವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವಮು ಕಲವರನಾರದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಸ್ಮರಣ ನಂದಾನುಭವಮು ಗಲವರನ ಶರದಿಂದು ನೀ ಈ ಶರದಿಂದು ಈ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾನಗ ಶರದಿಂದು ನಿಭಾಪಗನಾಗ ಸಾರముగాను బ్రోచుమిక సారముగాను బ్రోచుమిక సారముగాను బ్రోచుమిక సారముగాను బ్రోచుమిక వరనారద నారాయణ స్మరణ నందానుభవము గలవరణ సకల లోకములకు సకల లోకములకు సకల లోకములకు సద్గురువను సదా నేను తడుచువరియు సకల లోకములకు సద్గురువంచు సదా నేన తడునుచు హరియు ప్రకటం ప్రకటం బుగ కీర్తినో సంజ్ఞనే ఏ ప్రకటం బుగ కీర్తినో సంజ్ఞనే ప్రకటం బుగ కీర్తినో సంజ్ఞనే ఏ ప్రకటం భావుక త్యాగరాజనుత భావుక త్యాగరాజనుత భావుక త్యాగరాజనుత భావుక త్యాగరాజనుత వరనారద నారాయణ స్మరణ నందానుభవము గలవరణ
Tyagaraja Swami uses a very beautiful word, Bhavuka Tyagarajanuta, he says. Bhavuka is an emotional Tyagaraja. He does not use adjectives for himself in most kritis, but there are two kritis where he does, and there are a few, but we pick two kritis. One is here where he says an emotional Tyagaraja is praying to this Narada because he writes it at the time of that Sakshatkaram, at the time in which he's seeing him here and he's forgotten about the Swarupam here. When he opens his eyes and the composition is done and he's wiped his tears, Tyagaraja Swami has realized he's gone. The person who came vanished. And this causes confusion for him. Because this moment is the moment that one thinks about from the perspective of, why did the Rishi come? Did the Rishi come just to bless him? If so, why did he disappear? Because Tyagaraja Swami, as many of you would remember, had the same thing with Rama, that Rama gave him a glimpse of a vision and then he disappeared. And that despair was within. But here, Narada is a conduit for Tyagaraja Swami to reach Narayana. And Narada recognizes that Tyagaraja Swami's journey is through Sangeetam. It is through music. So he gifts him and he leaves behind. Narada is long gone, but he left him a copy of a phenomenal book that is called as the Ocean of Swaras, or the Swararnavam. The Swararnavam is a very, very beautiful musical treatise that does not restrict music to a form of entertainment. It talks about how you can use the notes within music, the swaras. Notes is actually a very poor translation. The word swara is made up of two parts, swa, which means self, and ra, which translates to ranjakatvam, or delighting. Delighting in oneself is the true meaning of swara. Notes does not at all do justice to that idea. How to lose yourself in that idea of Paramanandam, in that bliss of Satchidanandam, that is what is recorded here. And in this beautiful krama of the Sapta Swaras, Tyagaraja Swami is looking at this text. This text showcases how each of the Sapta Swaras, they are not 7 notes. They are a path through which Nadam has reached us, and a path through which we can reach Parabrahma. You will see how. Sa is the first swara, the Adhara swara. Parabrahma is called as Satyam, Satya Swarupa, that which is eternal, Sat. From that Sat comes Sa. That Sa manifests as Saguna, Sa again. It manifests and takes a form. Once this Sat takes a form, it passes on all its inherent knowledge to the rishis. The rishis are depicted by the akshara Ra, Sa, Ri. From the rishis, all of this knowledge which they have documented in Vedas, Shastras, Puranas is passed on to Gandharvas. That is why the third swaram is Ga, Sa, Ri, Ga. From the Gandharvas, the idea of taking Sangeetam into musicians, or taking the idea of Sangeetam into courts enters. So therefore, the idea of court rulers are also called as Mahipalas, the rulers of the earth. Mahi is earth. So that is why the fourth swaram, Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, or Ma comes from Mahipalas. Now as much as it reaches courts, it's important that it reaches us. It reaches the Praja. Therefore, the fifth swaram is Pa, Pa for Praja. Now once the Praja receives this Sangeetam, what do you do with it? How do you use this Sangeetam to go to Parabrahma? You stay on the path of dharma. You stay true to your art, whatever your art form may be. And if you are in the path of dharma, that is when the swara pa becomes dha. And using that dha, you can go into a state of so much bliss of nirguna nirakara parabrahma tattvam, that nirguna tattvam is the 7th swara, ni. After that, there is nothing else. That is why there are sapta swaras, not ashta swaras. This is what is contained in the Swararnavam. This idea is not coming from here. Long ago, Rajata Girisha, Rajata is silver, Girisha is the lord of the mountain, the lord of the silver mountain, that is Kailasa Parvatam. Shankara himself told Parvati, the daughter of the mountains, all of this rahasyam. This rahasyam was heard and captured into the Swararnavam. This Swararnavam I have received today, Tyagaraja Swami said, and I am extremely delighted and beyond blissful because now I know that Narada Guru has blessed me. This idea he shows in a beautiful composition in which all of what we've said about the Swararnavam being a conversation between Paramashiva and Parama Kalyani gets recorded, and Tyagaraja expresses his gratitude. That is the Swararnavam that Narada Muni left him. That, he says, take that Swara, mix it with Raga, mix it with Bhakti Rasa, and you will be somewhere else.
Rajata Giri Shudu Nagajakutelpu Rajata Giri Shudu Nagajakutelpu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Nagajaku Telpu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Nagajakutelpu Swararnavamar Mamulu Rajata Giri Shudu Nagajakutelpu स्वरार्णवमर ममुलु विजयमु गळ त्यागराजुनीकी यरुंग विजयमुगळ त्यागराजुनीकी यरुंग विश्वासिंची तेलुसु रस स्वर राग सुधा रस 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 स्वर राग सुधा रस
The idea that somewhere our Shastras are not books that are sealed and kept away. The idea that the force is in there, come and speak to us in our own spiritual journeys. This is what Narada is about. That he identifies bhaktas everywhere who are in some need or the other, and he finds his way of coming to them and speaking to them. And we tend to differentiate and believe that bhaktas are only Prahlada or Tyagaraja Swami or all of these people. But Narada makes no distinction. He has only two categories. One is, this person is a bhakta. Second is, this person is about to become a bhakta. That's all. Whether they are Rakshasas, Manavas, he doesn't look at caste and creed. No, none of that. That is why Narada makes his appearance in another very, very interesting context. This is when Devaki is kept in the jail. And Devaki's brother, cousin brother, Kamsa, is told, we know the foretelling, that the 8th son of Devaki is going to come and he's going to kill Kamsa. So Kamsa is not all that cruel as towards his sister. I give that term and conditions. Now he's not all that cruel towards his sister. So he feels the remaining 7 children are of no real threat to me, so I'll let them be. But at this point, so when her 7 children, he lets them be. Or he decides to let the 7 children be. At this point also Narada comes. And he says, Kamsa, how come you're sitting and sleeping so relaxedly? What if Devaki's children come and kill you? Kamsa says, Yenilla, it's only the 8th child. Narada says, as if you read that offer document. What if it is the 8th child with the remaining 7? You never thought about that. So Kamsa decides, and from that moment on, he has all the children hacked. Why? What a cruel thing to do. Why would a guru do something like this? Because the 7 beings that came as Devaki's children were meant to enter and exit her womb and then go and wait in a certain place. They had a shapam, they had a backstory of their own, and their karma was facilitated by Narada. That is one. The second aspect is, there is also the idea that Narada instills inside Kamsa this fear. Even the night that Devaki's son is born, a little after Narada comes and he says, you think that you have killed Devaki's 8th child. You thought that this little girl that you tried to kill was the 8th child. No. The killer lies elsewhere. The killer is on the other side, and he's growing up. He's so beautiful. He does all of this. Now, Kamsa cannot sleep. Now he's thinking, Ayo, the killer, my killer, my killer, my killer. The only difference is he didn't say my killer. He kept saying Krishna, 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 Krishna. Whatever attitude you have, this is Viprita Bhakti. Whatever attitude you have, Kamsa becomes the example of a Bhaya yogi. He is also a yogi in great fear. Narada instills that that bhakti inside him. So for everyone, Narada becomes a guru in this fashion. And this does not and cannot be understood if we just look at his stories linearly. So now we look at a very, very interesting story where Narada, who himself is playing the role of a guru, somewhere is also subject to the all-powerful Maya of the Lord. This is a very simple story, and most of us know this. Narada finds a spot in the Himalayas to do tapas. And when he's doing this tapas, Kamadeva comes. Similar to what Kama tried to do with Shiva, Kama tries to shoot an arrow at Narada because he's worried that the tapas is too intense. Kama's arrows have no effect on Narada. So when Narada finishes his tapas, he looks at Kama and he says, don't worry, I will not burn you down with my third eye because I don't use that too much to burn people, making a jibe at Shiva. You be happy. But Narada immediately takes this news to Shiva with a slight hint of pride that, look at my tapas that I did not have, that my tapas did not, even Kama could not defeat me. So he goes to Shiva. Shiva listens and he says, wonderful Narada, Kama had no effect on you. Just do one thing. Whatever you do, don't tell Vishnu this, okay? Narada says, oh. From there, straight he goes to Vaikuntham and he says, Narayana, you know what happened? I did tapas and then Kamadeva came, no effect on me. Narayana says, truly you are an exalted bhakta, Narada. Now, carry on and be well. So Narada says, thank you for the certification. He carries on. He exits Vaikuntha and he says, what is this palace? He's never seen this before when he wandered across. So he jumps into this palace and there he finds out that this king is about to arrange a Swayamvara for his daughter. So he says, oh my goodness, I've fallen in love with this woman. I hope that I'm a suitable suitor. So he says, no, but I can't go as Munivesham. Let me call Narayana and ask him to make me look as good as him. So he calls him and Narayana comes because Narayana listens to his bhaktas. So he says, Narada, what do you want? And Narada says, make me look like Hari. And Narayana says, so be it. So Narada is transformed and he appears at the Swayamvara knowing that this girl will now marry him. In that moment, when the girl enters the sabha, she looks at Narada, makes a face and walks past. At this point, Narada wonders, why did she make that face looking at me? This was pre-mobile era, so he didn't have a front camera. So he went and he checked in a mirror and realized that he had a monkey face. And that's when he realized he had asked Vishnu that he wanted to look like Hari. Hari also means monkey. So Vishnu said Tathastu and made him look like a monkey. At this point, Vishnu appeared in the sabha and the girl placed a mala on him. The girl is a Lakshmi Amsha. So she married Vishnu. But Narada was furious. He went straight to Vishnu and he said, this entire sabha is laughing at me because you made me look like a monkey. So I'm going to curse you, Narayana, that you will take an avataram where monkeys are going to make you win. That is what my curse is for you. And you will know the pangs of separation because you separated me from about to be wedded to this girl. At that point, Narayana just blinks and Narada realizes all of this is gone. The palace, the girl, the sabha, the swayamvaram, everything is gone. Only Vishnu is standing in front of him. Narada falls at his feet and he says, I was also subject to your Maya. And that is the way of the Lord. That there is no true enlightened being and there is no true deluded being, Tulsidas says. There are just people who act in that moment as Raghunatha wishes for them to act. That is why Bhadrachal Ramdas says, your Maya, nobody can figure out how that plan works. Yemaya Rama, Brahmadulakunaina, Nimaya Teliya Vashama. Can anybody know the depth of your Maya, which acted even on such an exalted being as Narada himself?
Gunamayi mama maya duratya दुरत्यया गुणमयी मम माया गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मामे प्रपद्यन्ते मामे 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 मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां 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 मामेव 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 ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति मे ये तरन्ति मे तरन्ति मे ये मायामेतां तरन्ति ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते ये मय्य रामा ब्रह्मेन्द्रादुलकुनै ये मय्य रामा ब्रह्मेन्द्रादुलकुनै ये मय्य रामा ब्रह्मेन्द्रादुलकुनै ये मय्य रामा ब्रह्मेन्द्रादुलकुनै निमाय तेलिय वशमा निमाय तेलिय वशमा निमाय तेलिय वशमा श्रीरामा ये मय्य रामा ब्रह्मेन्द्रादुलकुनै निमाय तेलिय वशमा ये मय्य रामा
Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mamamaya Duratyaya Bhagavad Gita. Nobody of their own accord can cross over the Maya that I place in front of them. Whatever their level of spiritual expertise and power and prowess may be, it is my grace and my grace alone that helps them cross over. That is the idea through the story. Because Narada, when that curtain, that veil of Maya is taken away, he falls in front of Narayana and he says, "What an aparadham, what did I just do that I cursed you?" Narayana said, no, that curse is very useful. I'll keep it in my pocket. In one avataram, I'll bring it out. That is Rama avataram. That is why we picked this particular song. But that idea, immediately Narada follows with a question saying, what can I do to atone for what I have done? Because I just cursed you. Swami smiles and he responds saying, if unintentionally you ever say anything negative to me, the only prayashchittam for that is Shivanama Smaranam. You do Shivanama Smaranam because that makes me happy. That is also Harihara Abheda Tattvam that comes out so beautifully through this. And Narada goes on to do that. But this idea that Narada not only does this Shiva Smaranam in this context, but eternally he takes the Lord's name on his lips and he goes. The idea of the story was not to put down Narada. It was to showcase how powerful the Lord's Maya can be. But Narada himself presents the solution to such situations. He himself takes that namam everywhere he goes. And what is so special about that one word Narayana? That when he takes it, does it have some more meaning beyond just what we know? Because for us, Narayana is a name. It is the one who is with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, who is lying in Vaikuntha. But interestingly, if you take the word Narayana, Nara means Jalam. Ayana is the one who has his residence. The one who has his residence in Jalam, in water, is called as Narayana. This name actually refers to the little one who is on a banyan leaf, who has a lotus face, and he is using his lotus hand to suck his lotus foot. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya are shown in this form, which is present before the universe came into being. That one from whom everything, the primordial cause of the universe, is called as Narayana. The form that I just described is that of Vatapatra Shai, but he is called as Narayana. That is one idea. The second is Narasya Ayanam Narayanam. Naram also means Jiva Samoham, the collection, the aggregation of every kind of living being is called as Naram. The one in whom we all dwell and who dwells in all of us. If that's becoming too Vedantic, the easiest example to understand this is, just as waves are in the sea and the sea is in the waves, the same idea is, we dwell in him and he dwells within us. That being is called Narayana. So Narayana is no longer restricted to a physical form. He is an emotion, he is a feeling, and he is a remembrance of a supreme truth. That is why wherever Narada goes, he takes that namam first and at the end. In between, all the drama gets created. But he says all of this is going to collapse, it's going to go away, because the only truth is what we began with, that is Srishti Purva Sthiti, and the only truth is where we will all go, our final resting place. Both are Narayana. That is the idea of Narada's love for Narayana, and that is how he constantly becomes a guru, by constantly saying that one word alone. We pay homage to that idea of Narayana, which Narada passes on to all of us, because that Ashtakshari, Namo Narayanaya, that Ashtakshari mantram is enough. We received the Panchakshari mantram a few minutes ago. Taking the Ashtakshari also, we celebrate the word Narayana itself, and how, when it comes from the heart, it recognizes Antar Bahishta Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Sthitaha. Everything around is Narayana, everything within is also Narayana.
Krishna Krishna yendu shisharupenuva. Krishna Krishna yendu shisharupenuva. Krishna Krishna yendu shisharupenuva. Krishna Krishna yendu shisharupenuva. Ashtakshara Mahamantra, Ashtakshara Mahamantra, Ashtakshara Mahamantra, Ashtakshara ಮಹಾಮಂತ್ರದ ನಾಮ ನಾರಾಯಣ. ಅಷ್ಟಾಕ್ಷರ ಮಹಾಮಂತ್ರದ ನಾಮ ನಾರಾಯಣ. ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮದ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯ ಸಾರಾಮೃತ ವೆನ್ನ ನಾಳಿಗೆ ಬರಲಿ ನಾರಾಯಣ. ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮದ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯ ಸಾರಾಮೃತವು ನಾಳಿಗೆ ಬರಲಿ ನಾರಾಯಣ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ನಾರಾಯಣ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ಓ ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ಓ ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ಭವ ನಾರದ ಸನುತ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ಭವ ನಾರದ ಸನುತ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ಭವ ನಾರದ ಸನುತ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ ನಮೋ. ನಾರಾಯಣತೆ. सखा माझा नारायण. 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 ನಾರಾಯಣ ರಮಾ ರಮಣ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ರಮಾ ರಮಣ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ರಮಾ ರಮಣ. ಮಧುಸೂದನ ಮನಮೋಹನ. ಮಧುಸೂದನ ಮನಮೋಹನ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ರಮಾ ರಮಣ. 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 ನಾರಾಯಣ
I'm going to digress for just a second and also tell you that this entire creation happened in Aditya's head this morning. So to have put this together, and when we were just exploring, the idea was there as to looking at different composers and different ways in which Narayana emerges through. And that's when Adamya came in with the beautiful last verse that we presented, which was Narayana, Rama, Ramana. And Aditya stitched it together in a moment of just a fraction of a few seconds, and he said it's done. And that is what you saw. And I think that is how powerful the name itself is, that when it goes within, it comes out. So.
And that's also because Vinay came up and he was the classic Narada and said, yeah, you will do it. Do it. he said that, so it happened.
From there, I think there is a lot to explore in the idea of Narada. And we pay homage to one more aspect of his, because we began with something that was that appeared lighthearted, but had a host of wisdom hidden behind it. And I think it would be equally appropriate to conclude also with one such idea, which is again a very, very well-known story, which is the idea of the Tula Bharam. I know I'm already announcing the story, so most of you would think, yeah, I know this. And the story can be told in 3 sentences, which is that Narada arrives, convinces Satyabhama that in this world, whatever we give away is what we are left with. What do you love the most? She says, my husband. You give away that, and you will be left only with your husband. She doesn't even listen to the whole thing. Satyabhama says, okay, sure, and she gives her husband away in Danam. And in that moment, when she gives him away in Danam, she's wondering, how can I recover him now? Because I was told that whatever I give away is what I'll be left with. But here Narada says, if you want to have him back, you need to have his body weight equivalent. So set up a scale balance, a Tula Bharam, and have Krishna seated on one side. And whatever his body weight equivalent is in riches and gold and gems, all of that, place that and let us have it back. Let all of that be given away as an equivalent of him, and then you can keep him. So of course she struggles because Krishna always is heavier. And finally we all know what happens. Rukmini is called upon. And when Satyabhama is so distressed to see that Krishna might actually have to be given away, because Satyabhama in this story is representing somebody who followed what was told to her, but had the angst that she was about to lose him. And she had the angst that she could not match him in any way. But Narada's secret, the reason Narada is at the center of this story is because Narada teaches us one thing through the Bhakti Sutras. Narada has written a phenomenal treatise called the Narada Bhakti Sutras. 84 different aspects of Bhakti, and each aspect that he talks about is represented in either one story connected to him or one that emerges much later. In this case, one that emerges here. Narada uses the words in his Bhakti Sutras called as Tripto Bhavati, that a bhakta is constantly satisfied. They have no yearning, nothing that's churning within. So, Rukmini here, who exemplifies that bhakti, is called upon, and she is asked to balance Krishna's weight. And she says, okay. She goes, takes one tulsi dalam, places it, and immediately it becomes heavier than Krishna. Krishna smiles, and at that point Narada says, looks like the only thing in this universe that is heavier than the Lord himself is devotion to the Lord. That has more weightage in this universe. That is what he showcases through this beautiful Leela. This is the Tula Bharam, the aspect of what bhakti is. Narada showcases through this. And bhakti for Narada is not a static thing. Bhakti is about being in that realm of the Lord, being so consumed by his name, because that is Narada's whole story. He takes his name and makes it his story. Being so consumed by his Swarupam, being consumed by his gunas, being consumed by his tattvam, by his leelas, by his mahimas, that once you take all of these and you're obsessed with him, then in that moment what happens is you're with him constantly. And that is why Narada may be a Triloka Sanchari, and there may be a host of stories that talk about how Narada is always moving because he was cursed, etc. But Narada eternally resides with the Lord, and the Lord resides with Narada. That is why when you see Vagyakaras who paid homage to Narayana, Narada always finds a feature over there, because they know that the only way you can reach Bhagavan is through a Bhagavata. And that is why the final description that we leave you with is a visual that presents itself of how the Lord is seated in Paramapadam. In Paramapadam, that divine abode, which cannot be reached physically, but through the Lord's grace alone. Over there, the son of the wind, Pavana Kumara, holds the Lord's feet, Pavamana Sutudu holds those lotus feet. And may those lotus feet and the thought of those lotus feet bring all of us Mangalam.
Pavamana Sutudu Patu Padara Vindamunaku Ninama Rupamulagu Nitya Jaya Mangalam.
The one whose Vakshasthalam is adorned with all the Navaratnas and Lakshmi Devi herself is making all of them glow even more. To him may there be Mangalam.
Navamukta Haramulu Natiyulche Yuramunaku Ninama Rupamulagu Nitya Jaya Mangalam.
The one whose smiling face is so charming, so beautiful, that it puts even the full moon to shame. May that face, may all the forms of that face bring all of us Mangalam.
Nali Nari Geru Chiru Naugala Momunaku Ninama Rupamunaku Nitya Jaya Mangalam.
The one who always has Pankajakshi. Pankajakshi is the one with lotus eyes. Pankajakshi seated on his left lap, who is looking at him. May those Divya Dampatis, Lakshmi and Narayana, constantly bring us all Mangalam.
Pankajakshi Nelakolna Yugamunaku Ninama Rupamulaku Nitya Jaya Mangalam.
And that Lord and Lakshmi are not alone. They are flanked by bhaktas such as Prahlada, Narada and so many others. And may the sight of Bhagavan with Bhagavatas eternally be in my mind and bring me and all of us Mangalam. This is Tyagaraja Swami's heart.
Prahlada Narada Di Bhaktulu Pogadu Chulte Ninama Rupamulaku Nitya Jaya Mangalam. Rajiva Nayana Tyagaraja Dinutamaina Ninama Rupamulaku Nitya Jaya Mangalam. Nitya Shubha Mangalam. Nitya Jaya Mangalam. Nitya Shubha Mangalam.
We would just extending on the idea of Vara Narada itself. This entire creative process was a matter of one call, and I think that's the kind of support that MadRasana is. That when Mahesh uncle and Aruna auntie said, "Hey, you know what? We're thinking of something. What's an idea?" And then immediately in that same call, Narada emerged, and then Aditya was bullied into agreeing, and within a span of a few moments, all of this magic sprouted there. And I think this is only possible because of support that we have from MadRasana that enables such things, such experiences for us as artists and bhaktas to share with all of you. So deepest gratitude to MadRasana and to BIC, which is filling us with so much of positivity from all sides. Thank you to this space and to all that it enables. Thank you to the phenomenal team behind the sound, the lights, the video, the audio, and to all of you who have Narayana within you that made you and brought you here. The word Narada means Naram Dadati iti Naradaha, the one who bestows knowledge of the self onto us. So our hope is that this evening, as you go home with the idea that Narada is a larger figure than a troublemaker, we hope you recognize him to be a guru that will speak to you when you need him to speak to you. With that thought, I would just like to say thank you to all the artists on stage. Shri Aditya MAdhavan, Shri B.K. Raghu, Shri Adamya Ramanand.
And last but definitely not the least, the person with Narada's gift of gab, Vinay Varanasi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.